What's up, dude? So in this video, I go over a butt ton of stuff, and it is indicative of how frazzled I've been lately that I give you a lot of like what I've been working on. In the last 90 days, I've taken content creation very intentionally, very seriously, and I want to catch you up with what I've been doing because this is going to become a more common theme that I'm going to keep showing and updating as I continue to grow my own self. So strap in, this is a long one, but it's just so much relatable stuff that is very value driven that I think you're going to enjoy. Skip through if you have to because you probably don't need all of it. Expect to learn what it's like to do this while working a full-time job, what tools and resources you need to reach out to, how psychology of social media and content generation works, what it's like to video edit and if you can try to make that any easier, and things like that. So it is a lot of real-world stuff that you probably won't hear from just anybody. They just do it and never say how they did it. So I'm going to show you that side of it from my own personal journey. I'm going to start documenting the journey of me figuring out how to basically create a brand, I think, and also a YouTube channel in the same process. I want to show you guys how much time it's taking, the devotion I'm putting into it, the tools I'm finding, the skills I'm building, all sorts of stuff like that, so that if you're interested in making a channel or a personal brand in general, I'll show you how I did it. There's a bit of a backstory that I haven't been recording or talking about. I downloaded DaVinci Resolve as my video editor, and it's a little clunky at first because it's just new and different, intuitive after a while. I do like it. I figured out how to zoom in on videos pretty well. I've added titles, like headers. Use a different program called Downy 4 to download things like podcasts I like that I'm going to do a video about, and I can splice in those edits into my video now. Use B-roll, where I record B-roll with, by the way, I'm using an Osmo Pocket 3. It's a great starting camera from everything I've ever read about it. And I can just be talking to the camera with my little DJI mic, which sounds pretty good, I think. And then put B-roll over top of that in the editing of Resolve. And it won't show me talking to the camera like this, though I still keep the audio and show the B-roll of what I want. That's pretty intuitive. There's videos I've watched about how to be more cinematic. And so far I've only done that once, where in this living room I put my shoes on and grab the keys off the table and the dog leash. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it did add something to the, it added fun to the video essentially. And that way I wasn't just boring, which is what I'm afraid of this series becoming, boring little status updates. I think a lot of creators that make it big can tell a story. I think a lot of what actually people relate to and want to see is not just the in and out, A equals B, move on. It's A and then C happened, and then I figured out D to get back to B. I also took a class. It was $100 from James Smith on what he calls the black belt mastery of content production. And that took me a few weeks to get through because I do work full time, but it was a great starting point of lighting, audio, different equipment, what to post on certain different platforms, reframing a mindset of what people want to see versus what they don't want to see. And so that was a great foundational step. He offers a lot more training for a lot more money, but for $100, I got a lot of value out of that. And I took a lot of notes. And then that got me into this whole buying cheap courses, cheap from $100 to $200, to level up my skills really quickly because I am not playing around with this. I really do take this seriously. I have a plan in mind of why I want to have a personal brand, why I want to make content. And I know it won't get pushed out there and won't be successful and people won't resonate with it if it's not up to the level of standards of quality that it needs to be. So that means I have to do a lot of work. So another course I bought is Vin Jiang's Stage Academy, which is all about vocal mastery, as he calls it. So less ahs and ums, those are filler words, or likes, and you know what I mean? Those are filler words, and ums and ahs are just like nonsensical noises. And also, sometimes you need to whisper a little bit, because if I whisper, you think that I'm telling you something really important, when actually I'm just saying something that really doesn't even need to be listened to. No, that was a dumb example. Or there's 5 frameworks. Honestly, I'm still in the middle of that one, so I can't talk too much about it, but it has been revolutionary in me becoming aware of how I'm speaking. In time, as I practice that more, I think it will help me to become a much better effective communicator. So I need to slow down is another one. I'm really adept at speaking very quickly. What that signals is low status, and you kind of zone out, like just psychologically. If someone's over here talking really fast and you're like, what is this going on over here? And then they're trying to tell you something and you don't really understand it because they're talking too fast and you're missing out on the words. It's an extreme example, obviously, but if you slow down take some pauses, and really let the words land with impact. Suddenly they want to listen to what you have to say, and it sticks. And it gives you a lot more authority. They want to listen to what you have because it may actually be very crucial to what they need to hear. Because the words that you're saying are so concisely choiced and chosen. Concisely choiced, choice isn't even a word. Clearly I still need to practice. But if you look at any great presenter, you give respect and you think this person's very competent, I should listen to what they have to say. When they don't just fill empty space with I don't know, so what happened next was, it's a bunch of, we didn't need to hear any of that. Doing what I just did right there, where I took a second, I held the space, I was thinking, and then I begin conversation again very clearly and directly with chosen words that paint the story of exactly what I'm trying to say without all the extra fluff. And then use things such as different tones as I'm secretly telling you it's a different tone, volume can come down. Or if I really need to make a point, I can yell and make myself very big and large. Or I can use a pause where sometimes things are very important. And if you just run over them very quickly, the impact is gone. Also, there's a melody. So if I'm just talking like this and there's really nothing going on that's exciting, your brain just says I don't even need to listen to this because it's just boring. Versus if I'm just talking like this and there's really not much going on, but it keeps changing in tone, suddenly you're interested in what I'm have to say. There's a melody that happens here and you find the pattern of it and your brain likes that. It's simple. You know it subconsciously. We've all heard a good presenter. We've all heard a terrible presenter. Maybe you're not attuned to it. It's like when you're shopping for a car, suddenly you see that car everywhere. It's the same thing now when I watch people speak. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a fantastic presenter. He's no filler words, fantastic pauses, great use of volume. And those are just the 5 key frameworks. There's more for me to learn into, but that skill, which I've probably deep dove too far into, the skill to effectively communicate is the number one thing for my style, where I'm going to be very direct to camera. They call this talking head. That's the other thing. I've learned a whole bunch of industry lingo. This is a lot that I'm packing in here into the first video. It's just to catch you up really quickly, right? So is a filler word I don't need to say there. That's one I need to work on. One of the biggest level ups that I'm so fortunate I stumbled upon is this podcast with Sam Gaudet, who is the content production manager. I don't know exactly what it's called. Content production manager, I guess, works for Dan Martell, who has gone from 100K to 8.8 million followers on Instagram and across YouTube has 2 million subscribers. Sam is giving away the keys to the kingdom, essentially. He's telling you all of their free stuff, he's telling you all of their frameworks for free. And so I listened to this podcast for 2.5 hours and I took a butt ton of notes. And then I sent that through ChatGPT. And I said, hey, give me the key points and make these actionable. And then anytime I'm going forward, because who isn't thinking of their content through ideas? If you aren't using AI for your idea content and your creation, you're probably missing something. So I sent all those notes and everything through ChatGPT and I said, give me the key points, make this into a 1 to 2 page PDF. And going forward, I want to use these frameworks for every video ideation session that we have. So that's leveled me up tremendously, because the stuff that's in that podcast is the psychology of what goes viral, what gets watched, and what doesn't. So you have to integrate that. Currently today, my content has leveled up and I'm still a very small creator at 231 followers on Instagram and 13 people on YouTube with 3 videos posted. But my point, and what I would recommend to you if you're getting started, is every video push yourself something new. When it comes to the YouTube long form videos, I was very deliberate about increasing my editing skills. So figuring out how to do the zoom in, that one is such a useful skill that you see across all sorts of videos, short form and long form. Figured that one out pretty quickly. Now it's in my toolbox. So whenever I want to use that, I can pull that out and say, oh, that'll work really perfect on this clip. Sometimes when I'm recording stuff like this, I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, but just when I come back into it in post, I can say, oh, I can make a bigger impact by zooming in. So figured that one out, and then I figured out how to put headers and some of the other things I've listed. So my point was every video was a challenge to level up. And so I wouldn't stagnate. I was very intentional about picking the scene behind me better and framing it and using the video editing so that it would all be noticeably better. Most recently, I posted my first reel that had a loop in it, which is probably getting old at this point, but was great to have that in my toolbox now because it does excite the brain when it comes through, and it sets you apart as like, oh, this guy is more professional. So what I mean by that is it's very simple to do. You've surely seen a reel where at the end of it, it links back to the very beginning and it's very seamless. So it's a creative little trick that people enjoy. Or there's like jump cuts, like for some reason, if you just change where you're at in the frame, suddenly it's more engaging. And I mean, it's really not too hard to do, to be honest. Every single one of these is the first take. I just have to move around the room.
And what's happening is you're super entertained.
And I think at this point, the biggest takeaway is it's a psychology game. You're up against dopamine. Everybody else is just attacking that on social media like crazy. And so if you aren't, you're just not gonna get pushed to the algorithm. No one's gonna watch it. They're gonna swipe immediately, trust me. So that explains a little bit of where I'm currently at in this journey. Still very beginning stages. All I've done to this point also, what was very helpful, was a 30-day challenge of posting every single day. I took my silly little phone out with the cracked screen and not even the fancy cameras for 30 days straight, made myself stand in front of this camera for at least 60 seconds and post it unedited, just get it out there, which was huge because I wasn't posting before that. I was like, I took it too seriously, honestly, where I was like, oh, am I posting to be great? I was honestly doing once every quarter, I would do a carousel of 20 photos of like, this is what I've been doing the last quarter. Life is great. If you're posting once a quarter, you're not gonna go anywhere. You're not gonna build a following. That was just for my people that I know personally. But I got over the fear of being on camera so often, and it's still like uncomfortable, especially in public. Like it's very uncomfortable, but it's just putting in reps. That's what all of this is about, from the video editing to being on the camera, to the cinematography, to figuring out the scripting, the virality of it, the hook, all of it is just do it again and again and again and again. And it starts to slowly get easier. Keep in mind, I have none of the accolades to say that, but I have other disciplines and things I've done in my own life that reinforce that. By making myself post to this every day, that was a great challenge. And I actually did it a little bit longer than 30 days. I skipped one or two, and then I would make up for it. And that got the ball rolling. It wasn't good content, and I knew it wouldn't be. My biggest video had like 2,300 views. The most of them got like 200 to 300. It maybe got me a few followers, nothing that really moved the needle. But what it did mentally was said, you're now a person who records, and oh my gosh, it wasn't that hard. You're safe, you're okay. And it's a psychological conditioning that you need to have to be able to just accept that you're going to be on camera more often. Because the number one thing that's going to make or break your brand or your YouTube channel or your content in general, whatever you want to call it, the number one tool, the number one way to actually get through to where people want to watch your shit is you being you. And if you're uncomfortable with this thing here looking at you, or this thing here looking at you, looking into a screen and not an eye, then that's going to come through. And people aren't going to want to resonate with that. The only way to basically get over that is exposure therapy. Vis-a-vis you and I have in this moment right now. My friendly camera. My dog's licking his crotch right now. This is great background. Cheers. You done? No? Just ignore me? Great. That's the other complexity. Starting out, don't overthink it. Like, I probably don't even need this camera. I was thankful that I had the $760 or whatever it was to buy the creator combo, so I got this mic, and this records in 4K, which I am so thankful for, don't get me wrong. You can totally do it on one of these as well. Plenty of people do. I'm not buying a fancy thousands of dollars camera at this point. There's no need. I would love to have like a Shure SM7B microphone that's very like the podcast mic where people can hear you super, super well. I don't need it though. This is working just fine because I don't have any money coming in from this. I'm not professional yet. I'm just putting in the reps to get there. So the other thing I did is started educating myself in other ways. If you're planning on making a business out of it, which I am, you're going to need to convert people, the views, the eyeballs on your stuff, into sales at some point. And this, you're using essentially your social media following as a lead magnet as a funnel, right? So we know what a funnel is. It's this shape. You pour liquid into it. Let's say it goes down this way. So if our liquid coming in is eyeballs and views of people watching it, social media is the widest berth of like all sorts of content I give away for free. That some is education, some is entertaining, some is just off the wall, some is very core to like the messaging of whatever I'm trying to eventually sell you on. Next level is probably a call to action within that content that says, hey, go to this landing page, go to sign up for my email list, my newsletter. A lead magnet is a like PDF, like a digital product essentially, that you make that is going to be interesting to people, and you've put in the work and here's some value, and it's a little taste of like, this is what I can give you. Here's for free, like me. I can show you how life can be better with me. And in exchange, you get their email address. So then if once you have something that pops off, you can now have a newsletter or reach out directly to that person, because let's say something happens to Instagram and you get shadow banned or the app goes down or whatever, you've lost all leverage to your audience. What audience? It's gone. But if you have your emails, those are going to be there. You own those email lists, that engagement with those people. And so it eliminates what's called a key man risk. Okay, so back to our funnel. Social media, lead magnets, calls to action. And then you would say, hey, go to this page, or sign up for this course, or buy this digital product, or whatever it is. There's something where you make a sale. And then generally you go for like a higher ticket item, which would be a mentorship or a one-on-one, or I don't know, selling a product if that's what you're into. And so, it's a funnel of just like eyeballs, targeted eyeballs, small sale, big sale. And it all starts with having a personal brand, right? And so people only buy from people they trust, or when they're in need or desperation. So chiropractors do fantastic, because when you're desperate, take my money, I just want to get out of pain, I cannot keep living like this. It's harder when you don't have such a hard pain point, which is where you really want to craft your offer towards like something that people are really struggling to solve on their own. So you have to become an expert in that space a little bit to gain their trust, to then say, I have the solution, pay me for it. And that's just where I'm going, so that's where my mind goes towards. But you could just be wanting to make content, which is also great. I still think you need to speak effectively. You need to know how to video edit. You need to know how to shoot your frames, shoot your shots effectively, so that it's engaging. And like rule of thirds, my eyes are right at the third line. And I keep the grid up on here so I know that on my little screen I can see. Thank you. So that's important. I know from my training that's ideal. And if I was like sitting in this was a longer form, I would actually probably be over here, because something about psychologically, if I'm over here on the third, I'm on the third line with my eyes, but I'm also over here in this third quadrant, you can see all my body here, and I'm framing the shot this way. And if let's say this was a podcast, I'm facing somebody who's over that way. I can alternate frame shots where we're both on either side. Like they'd be over on this side of the frame, whenever I'm looking at them, and I'm over here. It's things like this that make or break your content, because if you're too close to the camera, then nobody wants to be in your face. This isn't fun for anyone. And even though I have a microphone, if I'm too far away, now I'm too small. It loses the impact. So you need to be aware of all sorts of skills like this. And that's where it's really, truly, I'm gonna walk around just because I can. What are you looking at, buddy? What are you looking at? Come here. And so that's where it really is. The difference between like a professional mindset is someone who thinks about all these sorts of things. So just me walking around right now, you're having fun with your eyeballs watching me walk. That's engagement. You don't want to click away because you're like, what's he going to do next? It's silly psychology games. That's really all it is. And it's not terribly difficult either. What is this? No one even knows what this is, but look, you're still here, aren't you? Some people would get really embarrassed doing this. I'm in my living room, I'm in a safe environment, but because there's a camera right here watching me do it, I would be super embarrassed to post this to the internet, except I'm not, because I have done enough social work. What am I trying to say? I have developed a lot of internal safety. So I love myself, I have self-worth, I believe in my mission and my abilities. So I don't care if this doesn't go well. I'm gonna be fine. I don't fear your rejection. I don't fear the hate comments, because if that happens, I'm like, honestly, great. You're putting me on the algorithm. It's going to get spread. At least I'm getting views. Once you can get to that point, it becomes a lot easier, I think. And if you're still kind of timid and like, oh my gosh, please like me, you need to do the inner work to get over that thought, so that it doesn't come from your acceptance, doesn't come from others. You accept yourself, right? So once you can get to that level, I think you have like a, let's see, I'm too tall here. Perfect example. If my head's getting chopped off, it's no good. So once you get to that level, then it becomes a little bit easier to be trying the experimentations that you're going to need to grow. Because any creator I've seen that's made it has all said it starts with the cringe phase. That's the price to entry. There's no way to get around that. Your best chance would be if you lived in a house with other creators who already had figured it out. They could level you up really quickly, but good luck finding that. Because you're not going to want to be around, once you're at that level, you don't want to be hanging around with newbies anymore. You're like, I am trying to get to the next level. So I'm going to surround myself with people that are also at my level or above. And so that's where it becomes difficult to get accepted into those sorts of, we're going on a tangent. Oh, let me show you some of the books I just bought. So because branding is so important, and I think that going forward, having your own personal brand will make or break your existence in business. So 2 books I just picked up. To be fair, I haven't actually read yet, but I think will be very helpful. This one looks interesting. The podcast I listened to with Sam on it. This is the podcast host. I was impressed with him as a host and as a person over a few episodes, bought his book. Gary Vee, haven't read it yet, but if you know Gary Vee, it's full of value. This is probably gonna be a decent one. So I need to actually listen or read this, but I would say that this shows whatever information is in here is going to be what helps me have more tools in my toolbox. So whenever I'm finding a way to use them, or I'm thinking like, how can I make this go viral? Let me look to these frameworks and it'll show itself. So I'm not saying you have to do this, but I think that it will decrease the amount of time that it takes for you to get to where you want to be, essentially. You can figure it out on your own. Obviously, plenty of people have, but there's a lot of free resources. And there's also, this was like 15 or 20 bucks. This guy spent years to figure out the stuff that's in here for 15 or $20, and maybe it takes me a few weeks to get through this because I'm not a great reader. Or there's probably an audio book I could listen to and would have enjoyed more. I would gladly make that trade to buy that leap forward. So think about it in terms like that. It's an investment in yourself, right? If you are going to have a personal brand, let's say you have 100K followers, which is certainly attainable for most people if you really stick to it. These small investments in courses, in books, like I've spent 100 on James, 200 on Vin, I think 200 on Founder OS. I'm about to buy another one for 100. So I'm $600, a couple books, and a lot of time on the internet. Less than $1,000, I have leveled up dramatically. I mean, if we include the camera, let's say it's just another $1,000. So for $2,000, which is a lot if you do it all at once. Well, and I had to get a camera. I mean, a computer. $2,000 in education. You're investing yourself that at 34, I now have that information for the rest of my life. If you're gonna get to 100,000 followers, brand deals are gonna way more than make up for that. One brand deal could triple that or whatever. Will ideally get a return on investing in yourself. This is a hard job. Like, it's not easy, it's not simple, it's not comfortable. It is a huge learning curve. It's a big barrier to entry, which is great because then the people who make it through that barrier get rewarded more. So do the hard work and do it consistently and it'll pay off. Once again, haven't made it, but that's the recipe. For me, I had to buy a fancy laptop because my old computer was a real turd. This MacBook is an investment in my future. I think I can run my business off of that thing. So I bought it on Black Friday. I got like $250 off, but I got one that's strong enough and powerful enough and modern enough that it should last, let's say, 7 or 8 years. And if I can do all my YouTube video editing out of it, which I do, I can build landing pages and run a business out of it, which it certainly can. It's mobile, I can take it with me. I have this home set up because I'm very, look, I'll show you. So I'm very, wow, my hair is terrible. I'm very routine and desktop friendly. So having like the setup here where I've got a wireless keyboard, I've got headphones if I really need to lock in, and then a big old screen, and then I got my monitors, I've got a nice mouse. Generally, I come home from work and I go do this because I still have a real job for the time being. But if I want to, it's a laptop, right? So I can take it with me if I was flying around or driving around, or I could work at a coffee shop like you see all the trendy people do for whatever stupid reason. So I liked having the flexibility. That a total was almost $3,000 for all of that. So yeah, that can be a lot. Did I have to go to the level I did? No, I upgraded a little bit and like, this is nice stuff, but I'm also investing in 7 or 8 years mindset, right? So don't do that if you think you're not going to stick with it. I now have like buy-in. I have to like prove to myself the worth of it. It doesn't happen on its own. Just because I own it for 7 or 8 years doesn't mean it was a good investment. I have to actually make money off of it in that time. Well, this is a huge video at this point. This has been a lot more encompassing than I thought it would be. I really want to very quickly get my audience up to where I currently am. If you want to dive deeper, I'll probably end up making reels or shorts out of this. Currently where I'm at is trying to integrate AI into the editing. So then the workflow, that's the workflow essentially meaning all the editing, all the jump cuts, all the tedious, monotonous stuff that takes so long is mentally pretty boring. And if I can outsource that to AI for, I don't know, $30, $40 a month with a service, please take my money, because I'm gonna make a lot more content. And if I'm getting just slogged down with like, oh my gosh, I worked an 8-hour day and now I have to come home and work until 10 p.m. at night, just cutting through all this and setting it all up, and please just make the bulk of what I'm doing is just selecting the little clips and cutting out all the dead space and filler words. If I can have the service do that within a few minutes, like, it's well worth it, amongst other powerful features that these AI tools can do. So once again, it's skill acquisition. I don't know anything about AI, but I'm figuring it out with the idea that long term, if this thing's gonna work, how can I eliminate as much resistance and barriers to entry as I can? So for me, I've recognized, like, I'm spending most of my weekends, most of my nights, if I was to be making videos as often as I need to really grow the way I want to, if I can make that go faster while during the time I still can't hire people because I don't have any revenue, then let's do it. So maybe all this time I spend investing and researching about it and then actual money doesn't pay back, but I'm willing to take that chance because I know on the upside, if it does work out well, is me getting so much time back that then I can focus on the most important thing, which is being authentic and human here. I've recognized that by just slave driving myself through it and pushing on and like, no, I can't have a social life and I can't date and I can't spend the money, or, you know, I need to be here in my little studio. I need to make sure I get my money's back on all this equipment I bought and make sure that this brand actually builds out and that the business can be built. Like, it's a real commitment that has to happen. That if I can make that easier for a couple dollars a month, like, yes, please. With the mindset of it'll pay more than pay for itself in time. And it also frees me up to stay in my lane, which is the creative, which is the ideas that come down, which, by the way, really quickly, if you have an idea, throw it in your phones, throw it in your notes app really quickly. Just get it down, because some of the best stuff I've had randomly came to me on a Tuesday at 3 p.m. and I was like, oh, stop what I'm doing, we're writing that down. Okay, back to my day. And then later I can come back and revisit that and recognize that it was a great idea that can then help build the brand or whatever. It's a bit unrealistic to just think like, okay, I am at the workplace, we're gonna do it right now. This is where all my creative magic is gonna come from in this next 3 hours. Most likely you're not gonna work that way. By the time you come here, you already need to know what you're gonna be doing. So don't miss out on your greatest ideas. They come in the shower, they come during the day, they come when you least expect it. Just write them down on that phone, come back to them later. Hi, buddy. Are you on camera? Let's get this a little bit. This is my buddy Kylo. Hi, buddy. He's making his grand entrance into the video space. He's my co-star. Here you are. Over here licking your crotch for some reason, you weirdo. I still love you. Thank you. So until next time, let me squat down so I'm in frame once again. This looks awkward. Until next time, you'll see me actually trying to probably figure out the AI stuff or going over the books that I'm reading. But I just wanted to start posting about my video journey, my video creation, content creation journey, personal brand journey, so that you can look back on this and hopefully guides you to how I'm doing it. That's a lot of words that don't mean a whole lot. Let me become a better speaker. So I'm going to start sharing my journey on this side as one of my pillars. First off is a relief off of me because I don't have to think about as much content I have to post. And secondly, I don't know why I have 3 fingers up. Secondly, you're going to get value out of it. There's so many people who are wanting to get in this space and they're scared of the fear of rejection. They're scared of like, where do I even begin? They're scared of what I need to learn. Like, I'm doing it. I'm going to take you along on the journey and show you the people I'm listening to, the tools I'm using, what's working, what's not working, and go from there. Who's a good boy? Who's my good boy? What you doing? Where's the ball? Oh my gosh, dude, did you do this? How did you do that? Yeah, this is your handiwork? Look at that thing. That's supposed to be a ball. I think we're done with this. Yeah, I think this is over. And so is this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.